Today we're looking at a relatively old Mercedes that we're not sure whether to call sporty or luxurious, but the perfect blend of sport and luxury is the W221 S-Class. Today we're going to run our usual tests: the acceleration test, braking test, suspension test, handling test, and our exciting crash tests. First, let's start with our acceleration test. Alright, I'll put the car in sport mode and we start on 3, 2, 1. In my opinion, it achieved a good time, 4.37 seconds. Let's move on to the braking test and hit the brakes. Okay, let's see what this car does. And yes, approximately 39.5 meters. 39.5 meters, which we can say isn't bad for the car's model year. It's good, no need to be too hard on it. Let's move on to the suspension test. In this suspension test, a lot is expected from this car because, yes, it's a sporty car, but it was actually the most luxurious Mercedes-Benz in its earlier years. We see the car performs excellently, smoothly, and fluidly on the cobblestone road. Let's move to another terrain. For other terrains, the car simply doesn't care. I'm telling you, it works extremely well, smoothly and fluidly, and no stress is transferred to the car's body. The suspension absorbs it all. We can observe this on the bumpy terrain as well. The car is performing very softly and fluidly. I saw this softness in the Audi A6, which is also a worthy car in this regard. Let's go to the rocky terrain. It absolutely must perform well here too. If it didn't, we'd really have to doubt it. Now, I wanted to test this car on various bumps as well, so I went over some standard bumps at a constant speed. You see, the car is performing extremely well, even though these bumps are a bit higher than usual, but we can say it passed with flying colors here. Let's move on to the handling test. As we said, this car is luxurious but also sporty. However, it's a sporty car with a very long wheelbase. But as you can see, at 50 kilometers per hour and at 55 kilometers per hour, the car really shows good performance. So we thought it's better to increase the speed. For 60 kilometers per hour, since this car is all-wheel drive, it's really showing good performance. The length of this car is really significant because this is the long wheelbase S500 version. In some Mercedes S-Class models, we have a long version and a standard version, and we chose the long version here, which makes the handling test more challenging for this car. At 70 kilometers per hour, the car was really struggling a bit, and it took about 5 or 6 attempts to finally manage this speed with this car. Let's move on to the exciting part, the crash test for this car. In the crash test, first, as usual, we go to the frontal offset test at 64 kilometers per hour. In this test, as you can see, the car showed good performance as expected from a German car. Although here, as you can see, the driver's side A-pillar is slightly bent, but it didn't affect the safety of the interior occupants, so we can overlook it for now. Let's move on to the full-width frontal test. In this test, we hit the wall at 64 kilometers per hour. Here, it should usually perform better than the previous test, and as you can see, it showed much better performance, and nothing happened to the A-pillar either. Let's move on to the head-on collision test, where two cars, both with different colors, collide with each other at 64 kilometers per hour. We can say they didn't perform as I expected here because both of them had their driver's side A-pillars bent, and this counts as a weakness for this car because its peers, like the BMW 440i from the same years, didn't have this problem. So let's move on to the rear trailer crash test. In the rear trailer crash test, the performance was very good and overall, no faults can be found. Let's move on to the hard part, the side impact crash test. In this test, as you can see from the external view, the car suffers very severe damage, so I thought it's better to take a look from the interior view as well. As you can see from the inside, the occupants don't suffer serious injuries, and we can say they only receive minor injuries. Let's move on to the next exciting test, which is the car's pillar strength test. This is where all three main pillars of the car will be tested. First, we dropped the car from a height of 1 meter. The car showed good performance. So I increased the height to 2 meters, and as you can see, it again showed good performance and managed to protect its occupants. So I thought, given the car's weight, I'd increase the height to 3.5 meters. At this height, the car really shows very good performance, but I think this is enough because any higher and the occupants would suffer much more severe injuries. Until the next video, goodbye.